Now, we all know that the duffer of Dhaka, whom I think you call him Muhammad Useless Khan or something like that, at least that's what I call him. This guy was foisted on the people of Bangladesh by the Americans. We're all familiar with this. Nobody hides that anymore. Why was this done? Because I think the Americans wanted a puppet there. They had some issues with Sheikh Hasina. America's enemy, number one, is China. And there is some truth in the claim made by Sheikh Hasina before she was ousted that the Americans had been telling her to give them St. Martin's Island, which is a crucial place from which they could keep an eye on China and also required develop a military base there. She said no, so she was booted out. So this guy was brought in as an American puppet. He used to be either the cook or the gatekeeper for the Clintons, and then they decided they gave him all kinds of medals and the Nobel Peace Prize, etc., for some kind of microfinance banker. Why a Peace Prize? I have no idea. Now, this he was meant to serve American interests, but then he began to pursue an independent foreign policy, which I've been observing very carefully. He started playing footsie with China, and he started messing around with radical terror-based Islam. Now, in March 2025, 2 months ago, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights had warned Bangladesh that it would be kicked out of UN peacekeeping missions in case its military was found guilty of human rights violations during the July-August anti-government protests last year, which led to the exit of Sheikh Hasina. Dhaka's military was horrified. As such, UN missions are a major source of foreign exchange for it. But the government has no money to give the military, so the military tries to raise funds through such endeavors as UN peacekeeping mission. So that was the time that the first nail in the wedge, or the first wedge was driven between the military and Muhammad Useless Khan. That look, if we are going to be denied our money, you are singularly responsible because you were egging on the jihadis to attack Sheikh Hasina and her party members, etc., etc. Now what comes is that the duffer of Dhaka, I think he's outlived his utility. He has offended the Americans by going to the Chinese and saying, darling, darling, sweetheart, sweetheart, I won't do anything that offends China. He was sent there to do something that would offend China. And when you go and tell them, I won't do it, well, the Americans are hopping mad. May I just say that he has outlived his utility. His exit will be welcomed by Bangladeshis. Leave out the 10,000 jihadis who are organizing a march in his support or something like that. It'll also be welcomed by their neighbors. You know, may I say something which I've learned in the course of diplomacy? The duffer's continuance is of no benefit to Bangladeshis and their neighbors. His exit is no loss to them. Many years before he died, former US National Security Advisor, used to be a joker called Henry Kissinger, if you remember the name. He admitted that the US policy on Bangladesh was a misjudgment since the Bangladesh crisis burst upon them while Pakistan was their only channel to China. This is the period of the rapprochement between Beijing and Washington. And this misjudgment was seen again in 2024 when Washington's dark state engineered regime change in Dhaka, pushing the country to the abyss. Now, the army chief has been talking of elections well before the end of the year, and this buffoon knows, he's almost 90, that there's not a chance in hell that he will win, so he doesn't want elections. He wants to continue being referred to by visiting leaders or diplomats as Your Excellency. He loves that. I used to be called that in 6 countries, but it didn't distract me from my duties. So he has been desperately trying to make up with Pakistan, but when the Pakistani Foreign Secretary visited Dhaka, I think last month, the smiles and hugs were followed by a demand for USD $4.5 billion. Bangladesh says this is our fair share of undivided Pakistan's pre-1971 assets, including aid money, provident fund saving instruments, etc. Then his government, this buffoon's government, also asked for a public apology for the anti-Bengali genocide in 1971 perpetrated by the Pakistani army, which reminds Islamabad that Bangladesh has not overcome the trauma of 1971. So, to answer your question very specifically after this lengthy preamble, what impact will it have on India? -0. Good riddance to bad rubbish. Will it help the people of Bangladesh? Absolutely. Will Sheikh Hasina go back? Your guess is as good as mine. But certainly, elections, if with this fellow out of the way, elections are likely to be held. I'm not saying that elections are the panacea to any country's problem. Elections themselves might end up creating more problems than they were meant to solve. But at least is something that we can look forward to. Other than that, the alternative is military rule, and I don't think Bangladesh would want to do it. If that happens, then all these UN assignments that they get would be closed. That door would be closed to them forever. So, Muhammad Yunus Khan, go back and cook for the Clintons. Go and clean their whatever you used to clean in their house. You'll probably be a much happier person because you are not a politician. You don't understand politics, and if I may say so, you don't even understand the Bangladesh character.